Hi and welcome to my channel Glen. My name's Glenn. I like to share with you what I learn in the world of cryptocurrencies as I go through it. In today's video, I just wanted to talk about a story of one of my biggest regrets in the world of cryptocurrencies. And no, it's not I wish I got into Bitcoin earlier, because that's everyone's regret in the world of crypto. It's actually something that's happened over the last year and a half. And I just wanted to give a bit of backstory leading up to it and why I feel it is and what I've learned from it and what I'm going to change going forward. So let's get right into today's video. So before we get into today's main story, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been smashing up the like button. Really do appreciate it. Really helps with the channel grow. And also to all the subscribers. We're almost at 3,500. I remember when I first got to 500 subscribers, and that's felt like such a huge accomplishment because cryptocurrency seemed like such a niche thing. I didn't know anyone else that was into cryptocurrencies at the time, so it was quite a niche thing, and I didn't realize it would grow so quick. But here we are at 3,500, hopefully be at 4,000 soon. So click that subscribe button if you're new to this channel. So going into my cryptocurrency journey, I'm sure many of you out there watching this have all had a journey that sounds roughly similar if you've been in it for the last few years. My one started off when cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin in particular, was about $6,000. And I've actually got a video diary of everything I've ever done in cryptocurrency, which is quite unique, I suppose, rather than like a diary where someone would write it all down. I actually have a YouTube channel, so I can go back and I can, all of these figures that I'm about to quote you or stories that I'm about to tell you, you can actually go back if you wanted to, if you didn't believe me and you wanted to try and catch me out or accuse me of not telling the truth about something. You can go back and watch all my videos, and because I've done it and I've gone through and watched certain highlights of how much, when, and how many of said coin that I've had in my possession. So I've got a diary, and I, if you like, with this YouTube channel, and I find it helpful to go back and look back on what I did right, what I did wrong, what I would change, what I wouldn't change. And like I say, I got involved when Bitcoin was at $6,000. I then tried to get involved with altcoins, so Ethereum, Litecoin, and at the time that was really the only thing that you can invest in through Coinbase. Then you start going down the rabbit hole of investing in other coins, opening up other wallets, downloading wallets, and mining. I got involved in cloud mining, which then I thought, this doesn't seem right. So then I actually started mining myself with my own hardware, which you guys may remember if you've been watching me long enough. If you have, smash that like button so I know that you guys have been with me for the last 4 years. Comment down below. And yeah, after the mining, I broke even from that. I sold the machines. I probably broke even, if not made a bit of profit, because I had all the mining profit as well. Do I wish I'd kept them? No, not really. They were very noisy. They did take up a huge amount of electricity. A lot of the time you only just broke even. And the only time they're really profitable is in a bull run. So, you'd have to go through 4 years of hell, not hell, but a slog, very noisy, very hot machines, just for like a short period of time where they're quite in profit. So yeah, I came away from that. I sold the machines at a profit. I then went into, obviously, an ICO where they were promising to mine huge amounts of Bitcoin in Iceland or whatever with Envian. They did a rug pull. Before the rug pull happened, because I was really like into the Telegram group chat, the Facebook posts, and watching YouTube videos about it, something didn't feel right, something didn't seem right, the language they were using and stuff like that. I thought, I'm going to cash out of this, and I actually cashed out my Envian tokens at a break-even point, I would say. And I did a video saying to everyone, sell your Envian, I believe something's not right. And then literally, I think 2 days later, they did a rug pull. So, I've been through it. I've also invested in meme coins. Some of them were complete and utter rug pulls the second you bought into them. Others I doubled or tripled my money on. So again, I think even with when Uniswap came out and all the, all these different coins that were coming out were very similar to it, like hot dog token and whatever. I did all right out of that as well. But a lot of people would say, well, you should have just bought Bitcoin and held on. If I bought Bitcoin at $7,000 when I very first knew about it, and really I know people always say, oh, I wish I got involved in Bitcoin when it was $30. Oh God, yeah, I'd be a millionaire now. You probably wouldn't, because at the time, even if you invested £500 or dollars into it then, if it crashed 80%, you probably would have sold then. So you still would have bought back in at certain levels, and you can only get involved in it when you know about it. I mean, if you know about Bitcoin and you know it's there and you choose not to get involved, then yeah, you could say, oh, I wish I'd got involved when I knew about it. But you can't say, oh, I wish I'd got involved in Bitcoin before I even knew it existed. So for me, Bitcoin, as far as I was aware, was about $5,000 to $6,000 when I knew about it, and it was about $7,000 by the time I started doing YouTube videos about it. Now, even if I invested all my money that I have had into Bitcoin, then Bitcoin currently is at about $46,000. So therefore, it would have gone up. That's 7, 14, 21, 28. 35. That's about a 6x, so you would have 6 to 7x your money, and you could point at certain points, like the lowest that Bitcoin's ever been in the time that I've known of its existence was $3,000, and I do wish I'd bought some then. And I remember having a conversation with my wife, and I said, we should buy some Bitcoin, it's just dropped to 3,000. She said, well, it's just gone from 20,000 down to 3,000, and you think we should buy some? You're crazy. And I said, yeah, I know, but I think this is going to be the bottom. Even if it drops to 2, 1.5, I do think it's going to go back up to 20k. Now, at the time, she said, well, we haven't really got the money. You're going on a whim. It's almost like gambling. And she knows that years ago, I used to have a gambling problem. Well, I didn't really have a gambling problem, but I used to gamble a lot. And I just decided to stop it one day. I don't gamble at all now. It seems cryptocurrencies has filled that void in my life. You could say that's a big regret. But then even from that to where we are now, you're talking like a 10 to 12x, which would have been amazing. If I'd put, I don't know, 3 or 4 grand into it, I'd have 45 grand now, 50 grand. So yeah, but that's not my biggest regret. Oddly enough, my biggest regret is, out of all of these things that have happened, somewhere in the middle of that, there was this project that came along, I looked at, and everyone screamed at me, it's a scam. Like, to the point where I had viewers, so you guys, I had, people that are in the Glen group chat, they were like messaging me saying, Glenn, can I talk to you privately? And I was like, yeah, sure. And you can ring each other through the Telegram app. I was getting people ring me. I had a gentleman from America ring me. I had someone from the UK ring me up. I had messages from people all around the world leaving me voice memos and stuff. And they were like, do not invest in this project. And that project was Hex. They said to me, it's a scam. It's going to get done for security fraud. If you're promoting it, then you're going to get done as well. Or you could be wrapped up in that. And we'd hate to see that happen because you're such a nice, genuine guy. It'd be a shame to see something like that happen to you. And I said, well, look, I'm not really promoting it. Like, I'm not trying to shove it down everyone's necks. And I'm not misleading anyone. I've always said, only invest what you're willing to lose. Any investment's a risk, and I wasn't trying to overly hype it or anything like that. I was just like, look, I think this is a good project. It seems to be filling a gap in the market that no one else has done, and it seems like it's done in a fair way. And to me, that's a huge thing. Like, that's a big thing. And I started going down the rabbit hole of looking at Hex. So if I show you my actual YouTube channel. So here's my YouTube channel. And like I say, obviously I'm in a unique position where everything I've ever done in cryptocurrency, I've never deleted anything. So if you want to, you can go back and this is my very first video I ever made. And so forth in order of date I released it. So I can go through and I can watch any video and go, oh yeah, Bitcoin was that on that day, or oh yeah, Hex was this. I mean, there's my little daughter there. She's only, I don't know, probably about 2. She's 5 now. And if I go down far enough, one of the very first videos I ever done was, is Hex a scam? That was the first question I had, and I thought, well, that's probably the first thing a lot of people are going to search. So hence why I did a video with that title, is Hex a scam? I went through and I thought I'll search, there's me with my cool shades on, or so I thought, with my shed. So this is at the end of my garden. You can see that it hasn't been plasterboarded yet, and I haven't put the wallpaper on. But anyway, that's me nitpicking my background. But you can see here that the Hex token was at 0.002738. Now, I actually got involved earlier than that. I actually bought in, because I've gone back and checked, at 0.001422. That's when I got in, if you like. Because I actually bought some Hex before I'd done this video. So, or I did it around the time. But by the time I edited and uploaded this video, it was around that time I'd bought in. So I bought it just before. And you can see it had a bit of a run up that day, actually. So obviously I started then talking about it in my videos. And then there was an amplifier period where you could invest in Hex, and by the end of the amplifying period you would have double or triple the amount of Hex or something like that. So I was always waiting for that to happen. I saw it through. I actually at that point invested £800 into Hex. Now at the time that was quite a big sum of money, still is to me now, but at the time it was a big sum of money, and I didn't have any expectation. I didn't know what to expect. This was a coin that everyone was saying to me, this is a scam, this is a scam. And the more I looked into it, the more I actually thought, actually, if this is a scam, this is different to all the other scams out there. One, because it was telling you what it was going to do when it was going to do it. Second, it was telling you how it was going to do it. And thirdly, it was being told to you by someone who's got like an online celebrity presence, if you like. So I'm sure Richard Hart would love me hearing me say that. But in the world of cryptocurrency, he is like a celebrity. He's got a huge following. So he's already got influence. He's already got... I can understand why someone would want to create a scam when they're a nobody. Because they want to obviously scam people out of money so they can take the money and run away. Well, this is a guy that's putting himself out there. He's already got an online presence, and if anything, he's just going to create a whole shitstorm for himself if it was to be a scam. So in my mind, I thought, what are the chances that someone who's already got an online presence, who's already a millionaire, what are the chances that they're going to try and scam people out of money so they can make more money, but they're going to do it in such an open fashioned way of doing YouTube videos about it and talking about it and being on Telegram? Why would they do that? Like, why? I mean, if we look at BitConnect and a lot of the other scams, there's always like a bit that's unknown, you know, like, well, how are you making these gains? How are you offering this APR? And they're always like, oh, it's to do with our trading bot. And everyone's like, well, can we see this bot? And they're like, no, it's secret. And that's why I've always been a bit skeptical about Tether, because Tether's always had that, no, we're not showing you what we've got. So, you know, there's loads of projects like that out there. Hex was very like, here's the code. You can read the code if you want. And I went down that rabbit hole. I went through, read the code. I'm not a programmer in any way, shape or form. But I used to do a little bit of sort of coding on a back in the day, a Spectrum. I used to have a Spectrum that I used to, and you could record games onto tapes. I used to do that, and then when the PS2 came out, they gave you a function to be able to program from the operating system. So I used to program. I programmed the game again with my own intro. So I get small bits of C++ and very basic, but at least I have a little bit of an understanding there. And this was when I was like in my teens and that. So, you know, I've always been interested in computer programming, mathematics, and like how code works and software. So, you know, I had a look at the code myself, and I was chatting to other people that were involved, and we were all discussing. We were like, well, this is in place, that's in place, that's there to protect if the person. I was like, why would they put all these protections in? And yeah, that makes sense. Why would they do that if it's a scam? Surely they would do it so that, you know, they could just take the money and run. So anyway, I just had a good feeling about it, and that's all I can really put it down to. And I know that's not very technical. I had a good feeling about it. Now, remember, I invested £800, which if you're an American, that works out to be about probably just over $1,000, maybe $1,100 at a push. And that's my initial investment. Now, this was a sum of money that I think I'd made through doing other stuff in cryptocurrency. So I didn't particularly care if I lost it. And that's always the right amount of money to invest into brand new projects, especially if you think they're a bit shady. So I had this 800 quid. Waited a little while. I'd done some videos about Hex, and for a couple of weeks I was doing videos about Hex, and they had a referral program for a little while. For every person that you recommended, I think it was something like you got 5 or 10% of whatever they deposited. So the odd person had put in 100 quid, so I'd get like a tenner worth of Hex added to my pot, if you like. So yeah, that obviously helped. I was accumulating more Hex for nothing, just by talking about it. Started doing videos, crypto coffee. Started talking to people in the community. So I got really involved, really into Hex. Now, since that time, now Hex went up to something like 0.006, and for me, that was like, I'd already like 4x'd my money or 5x'd my money. So my £800 went up to about 3,500. And I sort of talked to my missus, and whenever my missus knows that I've got anything of value anywhere, she's like, cash it out, cash it out. That's her instant reaction. If you have a wife or a girlfriend like that, smash the like button up. But they're very like, it doesn't matter what it is, and even if you explain, yeah, but I think it's going there, they're like, cash it out, cash it out. I think you should cash it out. Yeah, get rid of it. So she was saying to me, why don't you just cash out your initial £800? That way no one can ever say you lost money. Plus the money that you have got in it is just, you know, it's I like to think of it as Wolf of Wall Street when he says it's fugazi, you know, so it's irrelevant what it goes up, down, left, right. And I said, yep, that's a really good idea. So I took out my £800, so I cashed out some of my Hex. So I was left with about $2,500 worth of Hex. Now, in that time, months have gone past. It slowly went up and up, and it seemed like to get to 1 or 2 cent was a long road, you know. So I'd already cashed out some of my money, and I believe I cashed out more than my £800. I think I actually cashed out about 1,200, 1,300. So I cashed out more. I think I was down to about £2,000 worth. So I cashed out more, and obviously I was waiting for Hex to go up to maybe 1 or 2 cent, and that's as far as I saw it going. I sat there and did the maths, and I was like, well, with the market cap and da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, I just always believed that it would hit maybe 2 cent, 2.5 cents, something like that. And I thought it'd stay there for a while, because unless Bitcoin went on a huge run, then it would be part of a bull run, and we could see it go higher. But that hasn't happened. So since then, I've moved from that property that you just saw. It was a 3-bedroom semi-detached house with tiny little box rooms. It was a small house in England. And I've actually sold that house and moved into a 6-bedroom detached house, obviously costing more money. So I had to try and get money every which way I could. So I cashed out all my Hex, I cashed out all my Bitcoin, I cashed out all my Ethereum. I had some CRO tokens, I cashed all of those out. And then I had Pokemon cards that were worth quite a bit of money, so I sold some of those on eBay to raise money to buy this house so we can move in. We've completely moved the other end of the country, so it was a huge move as well. So we've come here essentially starting from zero. But anyway, that's my personal life. So that's why I cashed out. Now, to me, that's a good enough reason. If I just said, oh, I cashed out because I wanted a night out with the lads, then that's like, did you need to do that? But this was actually like something that's actually changed my family's quality of life. So I don't regret it in that regard. But since then, since I cashed out, it has just continue to go up and up and up, and currently, if we have a little look at I use CoinGecko myself, it's currently sitting at just over 19 cents. Now, bearing in mind, like I said to you, I bought, it's gone up from then as well, it's about to hit 20 cent in a minute. I bought in at 0.00122 or something like that. So if I go back and actually look at my videos, like, how many hex tokens did I have? Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, look, this project's 100x token and blah, blah, blah. But they never sort of back it up with like, oh, yeah, I'm invested in it by this much, or I cashed out at that much. So you never actually know, is it 100x? Like, yeah, it's 100x from if you bought it at 0.00000. But most of us are not getting in at those levels. They have a pre-sale, they have a pre-mine, and then by the time it hits exchanges, then they have to give money to Binance put it on a certain price, it pumps like crazy. By the time that all happens, you're buying it at like 4 or 5 cents. So and that's you getting in really early, I would say. Now, if it then goes up to 20 cent, that's only actually a 4x. But then people on YouTube will say, oh, look, this is a 100x token because it was valued at this before the pre-sale. But that's no good to people like you and me. Now, I actually bought in when you could, you know, it was achievable for anyone to get involved when I got involved. When the first year happened, I actually didn't get involved till, I think, about 6 months later. So there was 6 months worth of people that got in there before me. And it was all open, it was all fair, and it was all even. So, you know, I couldn't knock it really. But I actually went back through my old YouTube videos, and at one point I had 520,000 hex tokens, so just over 500,000. Now, if I times that by 0.19, what was that, 85? I would currently be sitting on $103,220. If I then do the UK equivalent conversion rate, I normally do 29%. It works out that I would now have £73,000, bearing in mind that I would have started this project with an £800 investment. So that really is, hand on heart, I mean, from there, it's about 100 or just below 100x gain. Now, I know the Hex website advertises something like 4,000x gain, and that's without but I'm just talking, this is my story. Yeah, this is when the day I got involved to today's prices, and these are all genuine figures that you can verify yourself. So this is my biggest regret, because I cashed out, like, I'd already got $1,000 and a bit out of it. And eventually, I think I cashed out for like 3.5 to 5 grand or something like that. But if I'd kept it in there, I would now have £73,000. So I would have 100x'd. Now, the struggles that I've gone through financially over the last 6 months or so would have all been solved with this hex if I just kept it. Now, no one made me cash out. There was no... there wasn't any sort of pump and dump thing going on where like someone was manipulating me into cashing out or selling. There was no one that said emergency end stake. There was none of that. This was purely because something happened in my life and I needed to cash out that day. If I didn't move into this house, I probably would have left most of that hex in there. And I wouldn't have the full amount, but maybe I'd have at least half of that, which is still £45,000, which is still far more than what I would have had if I just bought Bitcoin. Now, hold on there. I know me saying that may make some of you go, what are you saying, Hex is better than Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin is the gold standard in cryptocurrency, and I think it's the best coin out there, and I think it's the best solution for an even and for a world currency. So that's my opinion on Bitcoin. I really believe in Bitcoin, and I hope Bitcoin succeeds. But the one project that everyone tried to warn me about, and everyone said was a scam, is the one that would have made me consistently the most money. Not just a quick pump one day. So if I picked out any coin, you could say, I don't know, like Chainlink or Bitcoin Cash, you could say, well, if you'd bought in on this day and you sold here, but then for most of the time it's been back down here again, you know, you would have 100x'd. This is like just today's figures. There's not particularly any massive pump today. I mean, it's going up 9%, which is quite big actually. But yeah, it's been at 18 cents for the last few weeks. So nothing really particularly has happened to make me cash out and come back and look at Hex. It's just, it has been the best performing cryptocurrency that I've ever taken part in. I would have more money if I'd put more money into Hex than I would have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Chainlink, leverage trading, which I've done that as well. Anything that I've involved in cryptocurrency, my biggest regret is not just holding on to my Hex. That is, I don't wish I'd bought more, because that's just, you know, that's anyone could say that. But if you've only got £3,000 in the bank, then that's how much you can, you know, you're only going to invest really like £1,000 of it, because you don't want to leave yourself skint. So it's stupid saying I wish I'd bought more, but I actually had 520,000 Hex. It was up to me when I cashed them out, and that's my biggest regret, is that could I have found that 5,000 somewhere else? Probably. So it wasn't like, oh God, I need to sell this Hex, otherwise I'm skint. I could have probably found that somewhere else, and I could have just left that Hex in there. And now I'd be able to cash out today for £75,000 or $100,000, which means, you know, I'd be a tenth of the way of being a millionaire just from Hex. So yeah, it's my biggest regret. And when there's a couple of the guys that have been chatting in my Telegram group chat about Hex, and I find the people in the Hex community, and I'd like to think I was one of them. I was one of the first doing YouTube videos about it. If you go back and have a look at some of the YouTube videos that were coming out, there was hardly any. So I literally was one of the first people talking about Hex through the YouTube platform. But unfortunately, because I'm not very like strongly opinionated one way or the other, that actually hinders me in terms of viewership. You watching this video, you want someone to tell you why you're gonna be a millionaire within 2 weeks. That's what you want to hear. The other side of you want to hear why Hex is a scam. Like, so that's very one way or the other. I was very down the middle. Now, there are a couple things that I didn't like about Hex. So when it was the multiply and amplifier thing, right at the last second, someone came along with a huge amount of Ethereum, which, who could that have been at that time, invested a huge sum of and staked a huge amount within the last 24 hours of the amplifier happening. That means that everyone in that amplifying stage got less than what they thought they were getting, which was just a prediction at the time. And we have to assume, or I'm going to assume, that it was Richard Hart. He then put in a lot of the Ethereum that he'd raised through this sale over the course of a year, and he owned a lot of the Hex token. Now, admittedly, the guy's just created the project. He didn't do a pre-mine, and he didn't give himself a load of the tokens. So why shouldn't he be able to buy in with his own project with a huge amount of Ethereum? So I get that. I'm not saying what he'd done was wrong or illegal. But obviously for me, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get 4x my Hex coins, and then all of a sudden I got 1.5 or 2. I was like, this is a scam. I should have listened to everyone. This isn't right. So that didn't sit with me right. Now, it seems like something very similar is happening with Pulse. What I will say, though, is that you have this high worth individual with a lot of Ethereum who's just bought a load of Hex and hasn't done anything with them since. That Hex got locked up and staked for a long period of time. That means you haven't got the owner or the creator of the token dumping on you. Which, if you look at, and I've been involved in this, if you look at Litecoin, I remember Charlie Lee, he sold at the exact top of Litecoin. When he sold his coins, it went straight down, and it's never been as high since. You could say he dumped all of his tokens on the market. Vitalik, whatever, he dumped a lot of Ethereum at the top of Ethereum as well, and everyone lost money. Obviously, it hasn't really happened with Bitcoin, but I'm sure there are people with huge wallets that have just dumped on the market. All of a sudden, it's caused a sell-off happening. But this has happened time and time again in loads of different cryptocurrencies. It hasn't happened with Hex yet. Now, everything I'm trying to say very carefully and very factually, because I don't want to come across as one of those Hex nutcases. I don't know how it's best to word it, but the people, I tried to have a sensible conversation with some of the people in the Hex community in my Telegram, which you could be a part of. The link to it is in the description down below. Just search for BitGlen on Telegram, or the link is in the description down below. And people were, I was like, what do you guys think about Pulse? Now, I was expecting like a to and fro, like, yeah, I agree with you, Glenn, but have you thought about this? Have you looked at it this way? And being subjective. It wasn't. It was very like, no, Richard Hart's the best. Richard Hart's done this. What do you expect? And they were quite like almost aggressive with it, because you're obviously trying to put doubt on this investment that they've made. Now, I put that doubt on myself. I sit there and think, oh, what if it is a scam? And what if he uses those coins to buy all of the nodes, and then he has an overall controlling power of the token, and he can decide who comes and goes, and it's all down to Richard. And then what if he dies? And then what if... Yeah, and I think these things myself, and I try and have a conversation almost with myself about this. So I was trying to talk to people in their community, but they weren't having any of it. So this is where I'm saying that people that are very one way or the other tend to be quite popular online personalities, because that's the content you want to consume, depending on what end of the spectrum you're on. Whereas someone straight down the middle saying, yeah, I think it's a good project, but I didn't like the way they did this. People don't want to hear that. And that's a fault of my own. I'm hoping that I find a mature audience base out of you out there that we're actually Glenn, we quite like your opinion, and we like, hearing a subjective opinion on something rather than just hyping it up. So anyway, that's me. That's what I do. If you like that sort of thing, subscribe, smash the like button. But yeah, that's my biggest regret. Now, what can I do going forward? Now that I can look back and say Hex was my biggest regret, that I didn't stay in it longer, what can I do going forward? Should I buy back into Hex? Don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it hasn't had any signs of slowing down yet. There hasn't been like a bottom. There hasn't been a big pump and then a drop off. It's just continuously gone up. I mean, if we go back and look at the chart, it looks crazy. The chart for Hex, let's go to max. This is like the whole period of where I got involved. I got involved around here, 1, 2, 4, 4 foot, literally there actually. And you can see that even at a high, it went up to 1 cent. But since then, it's just gone up and up and up. And it looks like it's about to do another run up now. So is it too late to get in Hex? I don't think so. I honestly believe that this is now on a path for the next year or so to go to $1, which if you look at where it's at now, that's a 5x from where we are today. Now, Hex tends to do really well when others are dropping. So I've noticed when Bitcoin and Ethereum drop, Hex does well. And when Hex drops, typically Bitcoin and Ethereum are going up. So it's almost like, I don't know, could you trade that? I don't know. I wouldn't want to get involved in that too much. But that's just a pattern that I've noticed through obviously checking the price of it over the last 2 years or so. So what am I going to do going forward? Well, Richard Hart's, I done a video when Hex was going live, and I said, I believe that Richard Hart is going to use that Ethereum that he's raised, which obviously he won't acknowledge that it's actually him that owns all that Ethereum, because then it'll be deemed as a security or something, and he might get arrested. So he's saying, like, it's not me, I don't own it. But I said, I think that Ethereum is going to be used to create a brand new blockchain, which Hex will then go over to. Fast forward a year and a half, and Richard Hart is now creating a new token called Pulse. And it's going to be an exact copy of Ethereum, but with lower fees, faster block sizes. Obviously, the network isn't going to be congested because it's going to be a brand new blockchain. But as well as that, anyone who holds any ERC20 token, which is pretty much everything other than Bitcoin, whatever you have on Ethereum, you're going to have on Pulse. So if you've got like 1,000 Chainlink, that's an ERC20 token, that you're going to have 1,000 Chainlink on the Pulse network as well. So he's advertising it as the largest airdrop in history, because all of a sudden in your Ethereum wallets, you're going to notice, whoa, hang on a minute, I've got 2 lots of Chainlink. One's called Chainlink, Link or whatever, and the other one's going to be called P-Link or E-Link or something like that. I think he mentioned the other day he's going to have a play about with the naming of the tokens. Now, obviously, they're going to have zero worth because they're going to be on this brand new blockchain that's never been traded. So you're going to have like 1,000 Chainlink, which is worth whatever it is today, $20 or whatever they're worth. I can't remember. But then you're going to have these 1,000 Chainlink, for example, on the Pulse network, which is worth 0.00. But then once people start trading those, then it will be worth something. Now, people may not trade on it, trade these altcoins. People are probably just going to try and sell them. They're going to think, wow, I've got double the amount of ERC20 tokens. Where can I sell these? And they're going to sell them to someone for very little. So a lot of the coins, even if they get going, all of a sudden you're going to have everyone dumping them. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, they are going to be doing a snapshot. So they're going to do a snapshot of the whole of the Ethereum blockchain. I don't know what date. Richard Hart said hopefully within the next month or two. They're going to do a snapshot and say, right, this is what everyone holds in all of their wallets. You're going to get an exact copy over on the Pulse chain. Now, there's one coin that people that are going to invest in Pulse that are also heavily involved in and heavily incentivized for it to succeed. And that's Hex. So if you're interested in Pulse, the chances are you've got some Hex, or you've had some Hex, you've sold your Hex, or you still own it. They're going to do a snapshot, and that means you're going to get duplicate the amount of Hex, but on the Pulse, Pulse chain, if you like. So that says to me that a lot of people, I think, are going to buy Hex between now and whenever the snapshot is. So I think this is being priced in now. I think a lot of people are buying Hex at these prices, even though it's at its all-time high. I think people are buying now in hope for when the snapshot happens, they can get double the amount of hex. And that is probably my plan as well going forward. Now, they actually did do a sacrifice phase, and I wish I'd got involved in that, where essentially you're getting the coins for almost zero. So even if they go up like to like 0.0005 or whatever, then you've almost 5 extra money sort of thing. Obviously, I don't know that's going to happen, but if I look at Hex and I look at Pulse, they're both being run by the same guy who's now made obviously even more money. He's richer than he was before. He's got more influence now. He's got more eyes on him. There's a lot of expectation from him, and now obviously he's talking about not only building his own blockchain, which is where I thought he'd end up and what he was going to do, and I actually mentioned that probably over a year ago in my videos. He's now talking about creating his own exchange and creating his own like coin market cap or coin gecko, which will be more decentralized and fairer apparently. And I think he slipped up. He sort of was really tired and he went, yeah, I'm going to build a better exchange and a better coin. And then he sort of stopped and went, don't expect returns on based on other people's work. Like his usual spiel that he has to give, like he can't promise anything because otherwise it's a security. So I actually think that Richard Hart is now on a mission to create his own sort of like echo chamber of cryptocurrencies, where once you're in it, like you're involved in Hex, you're involved in Pulse, you're buying and selling on his exchange, you're checking his website, which then if coins want to jump onto, they have to pay him a fee. So like it's creating his own version of cryptocurrency. Now, if I look at Pulse, at first I thought, why would someone want Pulse? Like, why? Why would someone want another version of Ethereum? Surely they'll just buy Ethereum. But this, the more I thought about it, and I thought, well, actually, a lot of people buy Polkadot, and a lot of people buy Cardano, and I don't know, like Tezos, and all these other projects which have promised that they were going to have this better version of Ethereum. There have been so many, and none of them have really taken off. Now, don't get me wrong, they've gone up loads in price. People that bought Chainlink at 1 cent, they're laughing. But what has it done? Like, what have they actually done? Like, I don't know any projects that requires Chainlink to work. I don't know any projects that need Polkadot to work. Like, and I'm sure there's some out there if I really dig deep, but there's nothing, there's no, in the video game world, they used to say, oh, the PS4 won't take off until it's got a killer app, meaning a game, killer game. And that's how I think about these cryptocurrency projects. Like, until there's an absolute, like, right, you can only do this if you do it through blah, 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 blah. Then yeah, then there's a use case and I can see that going up. But whereas Pulse Chain is going to essentially copy Ethereum so that everything that happens on Ethereum could happen on Pulse. So already there you've got and I think there's going to be a lot of developers that are going to develop their token and then be like, oh, should we just copy and paste our code over to Pulse so that we've got 2 lots of our coin going on, double money and double investment, arbitrage opportunities. So I think stuff like that's going to happen. So anyway, I'm just rambling now, but I just thought I'd share that with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below. This video is a bit longer than what I would normally do. Normally when I do pre-recorded videos, I like to keep them within sort of 10 to 12 minutes. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to actually look to invest some amount of money. I don't know exactly how much yet, but I'm going to probably look to invest into Hex to start off with so I can take part in that snapshot. And then I'm going to also take part and just once Pulse goes live, we're going to see a huge influx of people checking it out, and then I think we're going to see it drop off like a lot of new projects do. because people think, oh, this is going to take 2-3 years to get going. Oh, no, and they'll come out of it. And if that happens, then I'll be looking at purchasing in at that point. I don't want to be one of the very first people to invest, because if you look back in the history of any cryptocurrency, it normally has a big slump within its first few days of existing. So just to let's look at Hex actually. If I bring this, usually there's, I mean, this actually pumped right up and then it went back down, but it actually slowly went down over time. So really, this was like your best opportunity to buy, and that was like a few days after the project had gone live. So this isn't as bad as some of the ones I see out there. A lot of them I see start off up here and then they just go straight down, and then they hover around this bottom bit for like 2 years, 3 years or whatever. So Hex hasn't been that bad, but there definitely was a sell-off or a dump within the first few days. But I think the community that's moving over from Hex now into Pulse are a bit more mature. They've made a bit of money, so they can ride it out a bit longer. And I think Pulse is, I actually think, regardless of whether you think it's a scam or whether you think there's no use case for it, let's forget all of that. Let's just forget all of that for a moment. Then let me ask you this. Do you think it's going to be worth more than it is now? At the moment, it's worth 0 because it hasn't gone live yet. But do you think it's going to be worth something in the future at some point? If the answer is yes, should you buy in? I think so. I mean, I can hold on to Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin could double. I'm hoping Bitcoin goes to 100k. And if it does, I'll double my money from where it is now. Or I could hope that Hex goes to 0.002 or something. And I think that's more likely to happen. And happen in a quicker period of time. So I've always gone into projects, either lost money or sold at break even, and then thought, oh, I wish I just kept it in Bitcoin. The only project that I haven't had that feeling is Hex, and I'm hoping that carries over to Pulse, because how many opportunities is this guy Richard Hart? He's given us this opportunity to invest in his project. If you didn't take part in it, then more for you, really. I mean, if you're chasing wealth or money through Ethereum or leverage trading, well, Richard Hart has already offered you a 100x token within the last year or so. Now he's offering you another one. And I think to myself, how many chances is this guy going to give you before he says, no, that's it, I'm done now? And then you're back to looking at all these scammy tokens where you don't know the CEO, you don't know who owns it, you don't know where the 90% is, you don't know if it's pre-mined, and all of this stuff. Like, how many opportunities are you going to get like this? And I think that I've not missed the boat, because I did make some money, but I could have made a lot more, like 10 times more, probably 15 times more, if I just held on. And even to this day, I'm talking about buying back into Hex. So I'm buying back in now at like 19.8. If it does go up to 20, 25 cent, 30 cent, 50 cent, yeah, I would have, that figure I showed you with the, I could have earned $100,000. That's going to double. So then it'll be like, God, if I just kept what I had, I'd have $250,000. Now, my wife says to me, you shouldn't look at these things. You're only winding yourself up. But what I'd like to do is look back and say, okay, what did I do right and what did I do wrong? Well, I invested in the project for these reasons, and I cashed out too soon. And now, obviously, I've got an opportunity with Pulse. Nothing's changed with Richard Hart. He's still a millionaire. He's still an online presence, and he would create himself a world of hurt if he was to dump on this project or make it crash or anything untoward or do anything illegal. So why would he do that? Like, why? He's probably the most incentivized man in the world for this Pulse and Hex to succeed. I can't see him cashing out and running away in the distance, because he's already successful in the position that he's in with a huge fan base. So that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I know this is going to split a lot of conversation. Some of you out there will say this is a complete scam, don't take part in it again. But I didn't listen to those people a year and a half ago, and I'm glad I didn't. I listened to what they said. And with this pulse chain, yet again, they had a sacrifice phase. And right at the last second, someone came along with like 16 trillion hex and invested them into Pulse, which means there's, I don't know, something like that. There's 16 billion or 16 trillion hex tokens less in the world. So therefore the token should go up because there's less supply of it now. And that means that person owns 90%, I believe, of the total supply. Now, we have to assume, yet again, that this is Richard Hart. But the trouble with this now is that he has 90% of the coin. So that means he has 90% of the voting power of all the governance over all the nodes. So there's 33 nodes. I assume Richard Hart's going to take over all 33 of those. So he will be the ultimate deciding factor. He might not. He might sit back and say, no, let the people decide who they want. And there might be people that are doing stuff in his own project that he doesn't like and he has no say over it. But the chances are it's going to be Richard Hart that takes over all these nodes. Again, am I bothered by that? Like, you know, someone who's very heavily incentivized for this project to succeed. Do I want him having a 90% stake in... Yeah, too right I do. So I believe that that's a good thing in terms of investors, you know. Like the best thing for Tesla is that Elon Musk stays there working and innovating and selling. He's a personality, he's a character, he's got massive influence. If he just tweeted all of a sudden saying don't buy Teslas no more because they've just treated me like rubbish, I reckon a lot of people would cancel their orders. He has a very strong following, and that's the same with Richard Hart. You know, if all of a sudden he was like, look, my own Pulse chain has been taken over by these idiots and they're just all fries in transactions that shouldn't be and they're scamming people, he's not going to want that. He's not going to want any dirt thrown at his name. So do I care that he owns 90%? No, not really. And that may be a stupid thing to say, but Coinbase probably own most of the Bitcoin, you know, like, and there's nothing I could do about it. I'm just purely, obviously, in this, like, we already know what it is. We know it's a copy of Ethereum. We know it's going to have ERC20 tokens and it's going to run, it's going to develop just like Ethereum. So we know what it is in the can. Do you know what I mean? We know exactly what it is and how many there is going to be. The fact that one person owns a lot of it don't bother me. I'm just purely going to speculate on the price of it. So I'm going to be investing in Hex, taking part in the snapshot, and then moving my money actually into the Pulse chain itself, and just waiting. And if we see Pulse do anything like the figures and numbers that a lot of these other Ethereum killers have done in the past, they have done very well. If you look at some of the best coins on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, a lot of them are aimed at Ethereum killers. Say like Cardano, it looks like it's catching up to Ethereum in total market cap, which is crazy. You've got Chainlink, Polkadot, all these other projects, and now we're going to have this Pulse that is exactly Ethereum. And do you wish it got involved in Ethereum when it was like 1/10 of a cent? Yeah, of course you do. So do you want to take part in a copycat that is exactly like Ethereum with exactly the same features but it's faster and cheaper? Yeah, I do. Like, you know, I want to get involved in that, even if it goes to zero. Oh well. But if it's 100x gain like Hex was, then yeah, I won't be putting in. I'll be putting in more than £800. Let's just say that. That's it from me, guys. If you've liked that content, smash up the like button. Also subscribe if you're new to this channel. I'll be doing more content regarding Hex and Pulse going forward. If you don't like that sort of thing, I apologise, but those are the things that I'm really excited about and looking into at the moment. And again, this is like a diary for me, so I will be documenting as I go through it what I'm doing in this space. So I'd love for you to join me on that journey. So click the subscribe button. We'll talk more about Hex, more about Pulse as we go through it, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers guys, bye.